So still talking about values and operations, we can do operations also with Boolean variables, which is quite nice. So let's say we have here flag A, like in true, and then flag B, oops, let's just skip a line. And then we have flag B as in false, right? Now we just define those variables, and we can do something pretty nice, like we can do Boolean algebra, like flag A or flag B. And for those that know Boolean algebra, if I have a true or a false, what is the result? It's a true, right? Well, let's just print it out this in a better way, right? And then the same way we can do an or, we can do an and. So flag A and flag B right here. If we have an and, a true, and a false, we have a false. Just as a quick reminder, when you have and or, for or, you always have a true unless both sides are false. And then for and, you always have false until both sides are true, right? We can negate those values. So let's say I want to negate the value of flag A. And of course, let's print it out this because I want to do everything in the same cell. If I do print A and not here, print flag B, what we are going to do, we're going to pretty much take the value that we have for flag A and we negate that value. So before, flag A was true and flag B was false. So true and false. Now we're going to negate both, which means that we're going to have a alternate position in those values. So if we printed out this, we're going to have false and true, as we were expecting, right? The Boolean variable, we're going to talk about this later on more in details when we talk about branches. Every time we're doing branches, in the end, we are evaluating a Boolean expression, right? But before we go there, we can check it out, the veracity or the validity of a given expression by doing the expression itself directly. So is it true that 1 is less than 40? Well, let's hope that's true, right? And if we do print like 1 is greater than 40, let's use 42 because I like 42. So if we do like this, we'll see that the first operation right here, this expression was summarized, or it resulted in a true, as the last operation right here we had, it was a false because 1 is not greater than 42, right? We can check for the equality of something as well. So let's say, is it 42 the same thing as 42? Well, hopefully by now you will understand that's not the case. Why? Because one is a string and the other one is a number. As the equality sign, you can always check if something is also different. Let's say 1, is it different than 0? Well, who knows? And if you want to negate a given expression, we pretty much can do the same thing as we were doing with our flags there. So we can negate an entire expression. So let's say now I want the opposite of whatever 1 is different than 0 should be, right? And if you run this, the first operation, of course, it's false. The second one is true. So if we negate this operation right here, we'll have a false as we were expecting. Still talking a little bit about Boolean variables. One thing we should always keep in mind, there are some what we call false values. And what are those? It means that it doesn't matter how you evaluate those values, they will always be evaluated as a false. So let's just print it out this because use this because I'm going to use this quite sometimes. So what is the Boolean? Oh, by the way, if you use a Boolean and then you evaluate a given value here, you evaluate if that's evaluated as a true or a false. Every time you evaluate a none, it will be false. And then if we do the same thing right here, you know what, since we are doing Boolean all the time, I'll just do this because it's quicker. Let's copy this very quickly. And what about the false value? Of course, I mean, you can guess, right? False is false. Now, if we evaluate it as a 0, and this is pretty much as this. We didn't check it out there, but try to print it out to see if an int is equals to its value of its float value, right? And I want to evaluate if an empty string, either as a single quotes or our double quotes here, it will be the same, right? So all these guys here, they are false. So a Boolean none is false, a Boolean false is false, a Boolean 0 or 0.0 is false, and a Boolean white space here is also false. There are other structures we should also keep in mind. Remember the non-data type, which is the non-data type itself. It always is false again. An empty list is the same thing. I know we didn't talk about lists, but this guy here is a list. And later on, we'll see how to manipulate this into a given operation. All right. So pretty much all this, they are always false. On the other hand, anything other than these guys here, that as far as I can remember, like none, false, 0, white space, none, and empty list, all the rest is true. It doesn't matter what you do. And if you don't believe me, you can just do something like this, ABC. And I don't know, let's do an expression like 3, why not? 3 modulus 2. And then we use a list. Let's say a list with 3 values right here. And then if we evaluate this, all those are true as well. One thing to keep in mind, if you try to evaluate the Boolean, let's say the Boolean of the list, which is only has one element, which is false. You might be tempted to think that this here we will evaluate as a false, but the thing is, this false is inserted within a list. So what you're evaluating actually is this list is true or false. Well, let me tell you, this is true, even though the element of this list, the first element, it's false. So if we do something like, let's say now I have a list, and this list here contains, let's say 2 elements, and those 2 elements are false, right? And if we do a print and we evaluated one element of A, in this case right here, what do you think we're gonna have? Yeah, that's right, that's a false, because we are actually evaluating the element inside that list and not the list itself. Another thing to keep in mind and also evaluate, if you have any data type as an int, or let's say you have print, Boolean, and this is a float. All data types, except for none, of course, they're going to be true as well. All right? Thank you and happy coding.